Gonpo could smell the smoke before she could see what was happening. Although she was just 7 years old and not well versed in the politics of the day, it confirmed a nagging feeling she'd had for weeks that something was amiss. She was on her way home with her mother, sister, an aunt, and a convoy of servants. They had been away, attending the funeral rituals for her uncle. It had been summer when they set out for her uncle's village, but they'd been away for 49 days, the traditional mourning period between death and rebirth for Buddhists. Now it was early autumn, and the evening chill whispered of the snow that would soon creep down from the mountain tops. Gonpo wore a thick sheepskin robe trimmed with fur, but the wind whipped up from underneath her horse and made her shiver. Everybody was on horseback. Gonpo, like most Tibetans, was a seasoned equestrian at a young age. They followed the course of a road that had recently been laid out by Chinese military engineers, though not yet paved, heading due west into the setting sun. Their route forked off at a stream that led north to Gonpo's home, and as they emerged from behind a thicket of shrubbery, Gonpo could see where the smoke was coming from. From her vantage point atop the horse, she had a clear view of 6 bonfires and a corresponding number of tents. As they approached, she could see that these weren't the black yak-hair tents used by Tibetans, but the small white tents of the People's Liberation Army. This was 1958, 9 years after Mao Zedong had proclaimed the People's Republic of China. So it was not unusual to see encampments of the Red Army around the countryside. But this was on the family property, and that was surprising. Gonpo had been fighting off sleep on the last leg of the 2-day trek, but now she was jolted awake by curiosity and a touch of fear. She was one of the first to dismount, sliding off her horse without waiting for the servants to help her. She ran up to the gate, wondering why nobody had come out to greet the returning convoy. She banged hard on the gate, a slab of wood twice as high as a grown man with a massive lintel across the top. There was no response, so she shouted at the top of her lungs. "Hello! Hello! Where is everybody?" Her mother walked up behind her and called out as well. Eventually, Gonpo's nanny came and unlocked the gate. Instead of a warm welcome, the maid leaned over the child as if she weren't there, bringing her face close enough to Gonpo's mother to whisper directly into her ear. Gonpo couldn't hear the words, but she discerned from her mother's reaction that it couldn't be good. Gonpo had seen her mother crying a lot lately. The uncle who died had been her favorite brother. And Gonpo thought maybe her mother was crying again because she was still sad about his death. At least, that's what Gonpo wanted to believe, in spite of all the evidence to the contrary. The smoke, the tents, the stone-faced maid. Her instinct told her that this was the beginning of the end of the world as she knew it. Gonpo was raised a princess. Her father, Palgon Rupten Tinley, a name that roughly translates as Honorable Enlightenment Steadfast, was the 14th in a line of rulers in what was known as the Mei Kingdom. Note, many Tibetans do not have surnames in the westernized sense, but they will often have more than one given name. Its capital was Ngaba, in what is now Sichuan Province. When Gonpo was born in 1950, Ngaba was a nondescript market town where traders came to sell salt and tea, and where herders came to sell their butter, skins, and wool. This entire region was a patchwork of small fiefdoms governed by various chieftains and kings, princes, khans, and warlords. The Chinese used the term tu se, often translated as landlord, to refer to local rulers like Gonpo's father, but the Tibetans called him gyalpo, or king. English-language chronicles from the early 20th century also refer to him as royalty. That was certainly how Gonpo perceived her family's position in society. As a child, Gonpo was dressed in the floor-length robes called chupas, cinched at the waist. Almost all Tibetans wore similar garments, the quality reflecting their status. Gonpo's robes were trimmed with otter fur. Around her neck, she wore ropes of beads, big as grapes, coral, amber, and, most precious of all, tsi, a Tibetan striped agate, thought to protect against the evil eye. Otherwise, she wasn't a very girlish princess. She was cute rather than pretty, with gapped teeth and a snub nose that gave her the look of a mischievous little boy. Like many young girls in Ngaba, Gonpo had her hair cropped short, a signal that she was not of marriageable age. Her mother and other adult women in the royal family wore long braids, held in place by tassels and strands of coral, so elaborate that they might take servants 2 days to braid.